Hellsing on a surface level can be a pretty simple show, about cool characters being absolutely insane. But if you look deeper, you can find a lot of historical and cultural influences that shape the story. It blurs the line of morality, especially in the later half of the story. And this is where a certain topic comes up, and the show confronts the viewer with a seemingly simple question. What is a monster? And therefore, what does it mean to be human? Who is evil and who is good? And just because we sympathize with the character, does it mean that the character is on the right? I would strongly disagree, and I hope you do too, because if you don't, this video will not be to your liking. But to come back to the question, what is a monster? There is a fairly simple answer to that question. A monster is simply something that is not human. But does this answer really satisfy you? It doesn't work for me, so let's see if we can understand it better by looking at monsters from the series. At the center point from the series we have Alucard, the original monster, the no-life king, the entity that single-handedly waged war against the Ottoman Empire and 400 years later against the whole island of England. A truly monstrous being with no specks of humanity left in him, a lonely count in his castle. He is depicted not as a hero, but as a weapon of the Hellsing family, because that's what he is. He has no own drive to accomplish anything. He only has orders he has to follow, and that is actually the only thing that's keeping him sane. But how did he become a monster? If you're ignorant, you could simply say he was bitten by a vampire and got turned into a vampire himself, like he did to Seras Victoria. But that's not what happened. Alucard turned into a monster just like Anderson did, by performing one crucial act that changed him forever. He discarded his humanity. In Hellsing it is depicted that he was executed by his enemies. He waged brutal wars, and the nickname Impaler didn't come out of thin air. However, when he was at death's door and about to be beheaded, he did one thing that turned him into a monster. He rejected his humanity and faith in God, and consumed the blood of another human being. Merging his own will and essence with another creature triggered a force that is the mechanism to turn into a monster in Hellsing. This act of discarding what makes up a human is the driving force to become a monster. And you can actually see this happen for other characters too. Seras is another example of this. She clearly didn't walk the same path as Alucard. She was hesitant to consume another being even in the face of death. And for that she was mocked by Alucard. But at some level he respected her for it. She was the perfect antithesis to Alucard, with a monstrous body but a human soul. But this changed for her once she also rejected her humanity in her fight against Zuling Blitz. Maybe out of fear for her life, maybe out of love or respect for Captain Bernadotte, she decided to consume his life essence, essentially diluting her soul in the process. This gave her the edge against Zuling, who then couldn't manipulate Sarah's thoughts, since she couldn't differentiate between her soul and the captain's. This changed her fundamentally, and Anderson realizes that immediately and gives one of the best quotes of the series. Seras Victoria the vampire, you became quite a fearsome creature. So it is. I don't fear anything anymore. It is as if your eyes became windows to a bottomless abyss. It's striking how human you look otherwise. I love this character so much, he definitely deserves a video at some point. But here we see it's not really the act of changing your body, but the metaphorical act of rejecting humanity that turns you into a real monster. And this even gets clearer when you look at Anderson and how he actually transformed into one. In the battle against Alucard, he revealed the Vatican's trump card, a nail by Helena. He pierces his own heart, and before he says the following, I want nothing more than to be a bayonet wielded by the hand of God. I would have been happy to be born a storm, a mighty explosion, or even a terrible hurricane. A divine force of nature, without a heart or pity. And if this relic can transform me into such a thing, then I am happy to abandon my humanity. He then pierces his heart. To understand this act, we have to take a look at history. When Jesus was nailed to the cross, there are actually conflicting sources on how many nails were used. There are depictions of using 4 nails, 1 in each foot or hand, 3 nails, where 1 was in each hand and 1 was through both feet, and 2 nails for both hands and feet. These nails were lost in time, but various clerics and monarchs made an effort to recover them. The nail in question is a gift by Helena, mother of Constantine the Great, who made an effort to recover the cross of Jesus Christ. Therefore, she became a saint of the Catholic and Orthodox Church. The nail is stored in a cathedral in Trier in Germany, and among the nails found, apparently this has a higher probability of being a real one. The issue is, we got 4 nails max, but an infinite number of sources that claim to have the real nail. And even now, people claim to own the real deal. The chances of Anderson actually having a magical artifact that turns people into monsters, I'd say is rather slim. I would even go as far as to claim that if any other member of Iscariot used this nail, it would have just killed them. But Anderson rejected his humanity. He truly believed in his devotion, and this turned him into a weapon of God, stylized as the Monster of Thorns. This, however, did enrage Alucard, since the man who stood against him with pride, resolve and spirit, which he truly admired, now just became another monster, who was too weak to live as a human, just like Alucard himself. But don't get me wrong, it's not that turning into a monster makes you bad or evil. Humanity itself has enough potential to be truly abhorrent, which we can see looking at someone who truly prides himself as being human, the Mayor. The Second World War was lost, and the Mayor was at death's door. The will of the world offered him the same option Alucard was given. Reject your humanity, consume another being, and become an immortal monster. But he didn't take it. He would rather die than become a being like Alucard. He is disgusted by the weakness these monsters have, and this emotion is so strong that it drives him to plan 50 years ahead and wage this whole war. And even though he dies at the end, he is satisfied with his result. And even in his last words, when his mechanical body was destroyed, he still insisted that he was human. I am definitely human, and what makes me human is my own will. Beings like Alucard can only live if they consume other beings, blood being the currency of the soul. Don't compare me to these pitiful monsters and weaklings like Alucard. As long as I have my own free will, and even if I'm nothing more than a brain in a glass with fluid, even if I'm nothing but a circuit in a computer, I am still human. Humans are a being with a soul and their own will. And even if he smiles at me as a young girl or a gravely wounded veteran, he will always be a monster. And that's why I hate him with my whole heart. I will never acknowledge the vampire Alucard. He's a human-looking monster, and I'm a monstrous human. I am me. And even though he died in the end, he was happy. There's some refutal later from Integra, but to be honest, I think these are phenomenal final words. The question about what is a monster has truly elevated Hellsing from a dull show about vampires to an eloquent play about philosophy. In my opinion, this added a whole nother layer, or at least I feel that way. I didn't want to break the flow of the video with an ad read, but if you like what I'm doing, check out Manga Guardian. They really make affordable book stands and add-ons for your manga shelf. I use almost all their products and they supported the channel from the beginning. Also, you can use my code SLEEPY15 for 15% off on your whole order. Also, link in the description. So, thanks again to Manga Guardian for being awesome. And if you like this video, give the channel a sub and check out my other Hellsing videos. Thanks for tuning in and see you in the next video. Bye!